Welcome back to our KCCI special presentation, The Undecideds. We are continuing our conversation with Democratic presidential candidate Tom Steyer. And Adam Cook, you have a question about climate change, which is right up your alley, Tom.
It is.
So we've been talking about climate change for the entirety of my life. In fact, Al Gore ran for president the same year I was born.
At least we know how old you are.
So how would you actually take the tangible steps to address climate change?
So I've been working, Adam, on climate change for over a decade. I've been taking on oil companies who are trying to continue to pollute, and I've beaten them at the ballot box. I've pushed for clean energy at the ballot box, 50% clean energy by 2030 in 3 states. And I've worked legislatively to try and pass clean energy laws around the United States. I've also worked to try and prevent fossil fuel infrastructure from being built, new fossil fuel plants and pipelines. So I've done this for over a decade. This is my #1 priority. This would be I would declare a state of emergency on climate on day 1. I'm the only person in this race who will say this is their #1 priority. And I'm doing it because it threatens the health and safety of every American. So I'll give you just the ways that I can go through. It's a big program, but the ways that I'm different from everyone else are these. One, I'd make it my top priority and declare a state of emergency. I'd use the emergency powers of the presidency to immediately start determining how people generate and use energy, what kind of cars they drive, or they buy. The other thing that I would do that's completely different that I've always done is we've always started with low-income communities, black and brown communities, where pollution has been concentrated in the United States forever. If you want to get the right policy on climate, start with clean air and clean water. Start with the communities that are being poisoned. Because what you find out is you clean up the air and water, you do what's morally right at the same time that you solve the biggest problem that's facing everybody. That's my second way I'm different. And let me say this. I know we have to do this. I know that anyone who's not saying what I'm saying isn't dealing with the truth. But there are a couple other things I know. I know we can do it. You know, sometimes people go like, it's just too big to think about. I've studied it for over a decade. I promise we can do it. We can do it. And we can do it in a way that will create millions of jobs across this country. We have to rebuild America on an accelerated basis. They will be union jobs. We will make sure that they are living wage union jobs across this country. We can rebuild the union movement for this. And we can clean up air and water and get rid of what I think of as very discriminatory and racist pollution around this country. And the last thing I'll say is this. If you're not thinking about this, Adam, on an international basis, you're not in the real world. This is not an American problem. This is a planet problem. There's only one country in the world that can solve this, and that's us. There's no second choice about who's going to lead the way morally, financially, technologically, and commercially. There's no second choice. So if you don't make this, if you're the president and you don't make this your #1 foreign policy issue with China and India and Brazil and Poland, you're not dealing in the real world because you're not going to get it done. And I would do that. So to me, for everybody, you have to understand this is much more urgent right now than people write in the paper. But the other thing to remember is we can do it. We can lead the world and get back to what it feels like to be the moral leader of the world. And we can do it in a way that will make us all better paid, grow faster, and healthier.
And a big issue for a lot of seniors and even young people are worried about it is Social Security. And Midge Slater, you wanted to address that.
Yes. Primarily because Social Security is the primary source of income for over 75% of people over the age of 65, which averages about $15,000 a year. And that is
scary.
Extremely scary for me. Because I really think that if you can retire with Social Security, health care, the three-legged stool, a savings plan, then you have the chance of living a healthy, longer, life. But I wonder, as I hear you speaking, do you support eliminating the cap on earnings subject to Social Security that is currently at $132,900, which I hope you are aware of, to increase solvency of the system and the benefits for current and future retirees? I ask this because I work with a lot of younger people who will say, oh, you know, Social Security is just not going to be there for me. And that strikes home with me because that's how I'm spending my time, to work to save Social Security for future generations, as well as myself.
So, Midge, Social Security is a promise to seniors from the United States of America. Great countries do not break their promises to their citizens. So I look at this as, under no circumstances are we going to break our promise to the seniors in the United States of America and cut Social Security benefits. Okay? No chance. And so the way that you're describing where you raise the cap on where FICA goes makes sense to me. The other thing to remember about this is people are talking about Social Security running out of money or not having it, not being solvent in the future. What we need to remember is that for years, Social Security paid in much more than it paid out, and the government then took that surplus and used it for other governmental purposes. Whereas in fact, if this were a standalone entity, instead of just sort of an accounting entity, they would have taken that money and invested it, and Social Security would still be solvent. So under no circumstances can I conceive of why we'd break our word to the seniors of the United States.
Do you consider Social Security to be an entitlement?
Yes.
Or an earned benefit?
Look, Social Security is a little bit of both. It does, the way that it gets calculated is calculated as an earned benefit, but it is a promise. If an entitlement means something that you're owed as a result of being there, yes, it is. And the other thing I'd say about Social Security is this. Look, people are, as you said, people are relying on this for the basics of life. This has been what they've planned around in terms of being able to retire and pay for the necessities. So I don't think there's an alternative to living up to our word on this under any circumstance.
And in fact, moving on now, you work for Creative Visions and with youth in the community, and you have a question about urban communities.
Yes, I do, Mr. Steyer. Many of our urban communities...
Call me Tom.
Okay, Tom. I'll call you Tom. Many of our urban communities are underdeveloped and lack in economic development and decent wage job creation. What would you do as president to improve this condition and change the decades of disengagement to be more inclusive of the urban areas?
So, Yvette, I don't know if you know this, but my wife and I, about 15 years ago, started a bank in California. It's a community bank, and it's dedicated to the ideas of economic justice, environmental sustainability, and supporting businesses owned by women and people of color. So we've actually tried to bring capital to places that had been redlined, where banks had refused to lend, to make sure that those people were supported with capital so that their lives could be better and so they could, own their own businesses. To me, there's a question here about undoing decades, or shall I say centuries, of legalized discrimination that was formal. And so when we think about what was going on in African American communities specifically, if you go back and look, banks literally drew lines on a map by city, and in the African American communities, they did not lend, full stop. Our bank, we started with nothing. It's over $1 billion. We put in the equity, but we put it in through a foundation, so we'll never get it back. It only is there to make loans in the communities, and when people pay us back, to make more loans in the communities. We can never get the equity back. So it's strictly mission-driven. And for instance, in the last 3 years, we'd made loans supporting 6,600, so 6,600 low-income housing units. And every single loan gets graded on positive impact in the community. So it's like you have to be able to show in a loan that you're helping someone own a business, or you're creating jobs in the community, or you're helping somebody live in an affordable housing unit, or something, or you're sequestering carbon. So when I think about what we need to do, what we did there, it's over $1 billion now, we need to do on a much broader scale.
And on that note, I'm going to have to wrap up because I hear the music.
Sorry,
so
Cynthia.
thank you for watching our Commitment
Can you
2020
tell I care about
special,
it?
The Undecided. So much to talk about. KCCI has invited the top tier of Democratic presidential candidates to participate in our series of forums, and we hope to focus on a different candidate each week leading up to the Iowa caucuses. Thank you all for coming in. Sorry we ran out of time. We will hear more from you, Tom, and thank you for watching. Good night.